You know what's interesting about people who love old cars? They almost never experience the world the way everyone else does. To most people, a car is just transportation. You press a button, turn a wheel, and expect everything to work instantly. But for someone who loves older machines, it's different. Every sound means something. Every vibration tells a story. Nothing is hidden. And that difference isn't just about preference, it's about perception. People who are drawn to analog systems, especially old cars, often develop a very specific kind of thinking. Some psychologists loosely refer to this as analog intelligence. Not an official label, but a way of describing a brain that understands reality through patterns, feedback, and cause and effect, instead of just interfaces. And if you have it, you probably don't even realize it. Here are 10 signs, counting down to the most defining one. Sign 10. A quiet respect for how things work. When you spend real time with analog systems, complexity stops feeling overwhelming and starts feeling meaningful. Every mechanism has a reason. Every design decision has a consequence downstream. Psychologists call this systems thinking, the ability to see how parts interact within a larger whole. And once your brain builds that frame, it applies it everywhere. You stop seeing isolated problems, you start seeing interconnected processes. Most people never develop this. They interact with outcomes, you interact with structure. Sign 9. Attention to detail under real conditions. In an analog environment, distraction has real consequences. A missed sound or a small oversight doesn't just cause inconvenience, it escalates. That reality trains something called sustained attention, not reactive focus, not waiting for an alert to tell you to pay attention, but active, continuous awareness that doesn't switch off. In most modern environments, that skill has quietly atrophied. Notifications handle it, sensors handle it. For you, it never went away. Sign 8. Strong spatial awareness. Working with mechanical systems forces your brain to constantly track movement, alignment, and the relationships between moving parts in 3 dimensions in real time. Over time, this builds spatial intelligence, the same cognitive skill found in surgeons, architects, and engineers. The difference is yours wasn't learned in a classroom, it was built through feel, hands on metal, feedback through your fingertips. And it doesn't stay in the garage. People with strong spatial intelligence navigate complex systems faster, whether that's a building they've never been in, a machine they've never seen, or a problem with a lot of moving parts. Sign 7. Resistance to over-automation. When everything gets simplified and hidden behind clean interfaces, something in you feels uneasy. Not because you can't use modern technology, but because you can't see it. Researchers call this a need for cognitive transparency, the drive to mentally map how a system actually works underneath its surface. You're not satisfied with pressing a button and trusting the result. You want to know what's happening inside. In a world moving aggressively toward abstraction, that instinct is increasingly rare and increasingly valuable. Sign 6. Enjoyment of process over outcome. Most modern systems are designed to eliminate friction. The goal is to reach the result as fast as possible. The process is just an obstacle. But with analog systems, the process is the experience, tuning, adjusting, listening, responding. If you find genuine satisfaction in that, psychologists describe it as intrinsic motivation, engagement driven by the activity itself, not the reward at the end. This is rare, and it's one of the strongest predictors of deep skill, creative thinking, and long-term persistence. Now pause here for a second, because everything so far, the attention, the spatial thinking, the respect for process, these might sound like personality quirks, things you were just born with, but there's a deeper pattern forming, and the next 4 signs are where it gets more specific. Sign 5. Mechanical empathy. Experienced drivers know this feeling exactly, a sense that something is off, before the warning light, before the noise, before anyone else notices. It's not mysterious, it's pattern prediction. Your brain builds a detailed baseline of normal behavior, and the moment something deviates even slightly, you register it as a kind of wrongness before you can even name it. Neuroscience calls this predictive processing, and the same skill that catches a subtle misfire translates directly into reading people, reading rooms, reading situations before they unfold. Sign 4. Comfort with imperfection. An old car on a cold morning is not the same car as on a hot afternoon. The feel shifts, the timing changes. Something is always slightly different, and instead of being frustrated by that, you adapt to it. You expect it. Psychologists call this cognitive flexibility, the brain's ability to update its expectations in real time. You've already built inconsistency into your mental model. That makes you more resilient, not just with machines, but in any situation that refuses to go according to plan. Sign 3. Thinking in cause and effect. In a modern car, the computer figures it out. In an older one, nothing is abstracted away. Adjust the fuel mixture, the engine responds. Miss a gear, the drivetrain reacts. You don't just observe what happens, you build internal models of why. Psychologists call this causal reasoning, and it's one of the strongest predictors of real-world problem-solving ability. While most people interact at the surface level, your brain is always running one layer deeper, looking for the mechanism behind the result. Sign 2. Patience with slow systems. Modern technology has trained most people to expect immediacy, instant response, instant feedback, instant results. And that expectation now bleeds into everything: relationships, decisions, outcomes. But analog systems don't reward impatience. Engines need warming. Adjustments need settling. If you rush it, you make it worse. If you're genuinely comfortable with that, psychologists link it to long-term cognitive processing, the ability to wait, observe, and act at the right moment rather than the fastest one. Knowing when to act is just as rare a skill as knowing how. And sign 1, the most defining trait of all: sensitivity to subtle feedback. Old cars don't spell things out. They communicate through tiny shifts: engine tone, steering resistance, the feeling of the pedal under your foot at speed. Most people filter all of that out automatically, but if you have analog intelligence, your brain doesn't filter it. It locks onto it. It's constantly scanning, building a silent, real-time map of everything that's normal and everything that isn't. In neuroscience, this is called heightened sensory processing. To most people, it's background noise. To you, it's a language, and it's the foundation everything else on this list is built on. Here's what it all adds up to. In a digital world, most things are designed to feel simple. Friction is removed, processes are hidden, and when everything feels effortless, it becomes invisible. You use it without understanding it. Analog intelligence moves the opposite direction. It pulls you closer to the mechanism, closer to the cause behind the effect. Most people who have it never label it. They just think they like old cars. But what they really like is understanding how the world actually works.